Sister, I have a lot of blood on my pants, and my stomach hurts so bad. Can you please take me to the bathroom? She had tied her hair into 2 ponytails, both hands hugging her weak belly, looking up at me with pleading eyes. The bright red blood staining her pants hurt my eyes more than anything. This scene was painfully familiar. In my previous life, when I was locked in that dark dungeon, fighting every day just to stay alive, I replayed this exact moment in my head thousands of times. If I hadn't trusted that liar back then, I would still be living with my parents, loved and cherished. I would have graduated and found a job close to home, living a normal, peaceful life like everyone else. My parents were simple people, and I was their only daughter. When I went missing, they sold everything they had and searched for me until it destroyed them. That pain broke my family apart, and I will never forgive the people who did that to us. Revenge is coming, but not today. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. The sharp pain helped me keep my anger under control. There's a police station just ahead with a female officer inside. All I had to do was take her there, and she would be saved. But when I mentioned the police, a flash of panic crossed her face before she quickly put on that innocent look again. In my previous life, the same devil tricked me because she was working with human traffickers for money. Every time they successfully sold a girl, she got a cut. Thank you, sister. There's no need to bother the police. I always get terrible cramps when I have my period. This is my first time in the city. I don't know where the bathroom is, and the pain is so bad I can barely walk. Please, just take me to the bathroom. I'm begging you. Her eyes filled with tears, looking so pitiful, anyone would feel sorry for her. In my previous life, that pitiful act made me soft. In this life, I only want her dead. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly, but my eyes stayed ice cold. I pretended to hesitate, then said, "Fine, I'll take you. First, take off that long jacket I'm wearing and put it on. Your skirt is dirty, this will cover it. Tie it around your waist and give me your bag. I'll carry it for you." She immediately agreed and put the jacket on. I pretended to be worried and said, "You look like you're in so much pain. You must be cold. Let me let your hair down so your neck stays warm." As I spoke, I gently pulled the hair ties out and let her hair fall loose. Then I bent down, pretending to tie my shoelaces, and quietly smeared some dirt on my own face to look more convincing. By the time we reached the end of the street, the familiar sound of a motorcycle came from behind. Her eyes lit up with excitement, thinking the plan was working perfectly. Before she could even smile, the rider pulled out a wooden stick and smashed it hard against her head. He had mistaken her for me. I was ready. I immediately screamed at the top of my lungs, "Help, human traffickers. There are traffickers here trying to kidnap a girl. Someone call the police. They're trying to kill her." I pulled out my phone and dialed the number I had saved earlier. "Hello, police. I'm on the main street. About 200 meters from the public toilets near the big spring agricultural market. A man on a motorcycle just tried to kidnap a young girl. Please, come quickly. Everything happened in less than 30 seconds. Because I had lived through this nightmare countless times in my dreams, I had saved myself over and over again in those dreams, and every time it made me happy for days. So when I finally got them chance to do it for real, I didn't panic and I didn't make a single mistake. The trafficker on the motorcycle cursed loudly, "You little bitch, I'll come back and kill you." He threatened me, then glanced at the girl lying on the ground, revved his engine, and sped away. Even though he was wearing a helmet, I knew that voice better than my own. He was the youngest son of the village chief, the one who tortured me the most in my previous life, the one who once bragged that any girl who wanted to go to college could be tricked. I watched his shadow disappear down the road and swore to myself that in this life he would pay with blood, him and every animal in that village. The police arrived in less than 3 minutes. I gave them a quick description of the motorcycle and the man. Since we were right in front of the largest agricultural market, full of people and bikes, catching him would be difficult. But some onlookers mentioned that the girl who got hit was still lying there. A doctor from a nearby clinic checked her and said she wasn't seriously injured. The blow had been very precise, clearly not random. The police immediately realized this was planned. When she finally woke up, more than 10 officers were standing around her. She panicked and started crying. "I don't know anything. I really don't know anything." The detective looked at her coldly and asked, "Are you sure you don't know anything? Have you made any enemies lately? Has anything strange happened?" She swallowed hard and answered, "No, nothing strange. My parents are honest farmers. We've never had problems with anyone. I just came down from the mountains today to buy study materials. This was just an accident." Her words were too smooth, too rehearsed. Even a grown woman would be shaking after something like that, but she was completely calm. The suspicion in the officer's eyes grew deeper. Still, she kept insisting she wanted to go home because her mother was waiting for her to cook dinner. Since she was a minor and the victim, they couldn't hold her without evidence. I bit my lip, pretending to hesitate, then spoke up. "Officer, I saw the trafficker's face clearly, even if only for a second. I study art. I can draw a perfect portrait of him." And his voice sounded very similar to hers, probably from the same village. The officer's eyes lit up. They immediately brought me paper and a pen. I hadn't drawn in years, but that face, even if it turned to ashes, I would recognize it. While I drew, she stared at me with ridicule and contempt, thinking no one could have seen anything through the helmet in just a few seconds. 10 minutes later, I handed over a perfect portrait. The police were shocked at how lifelike it was. One officer held it up in front of her and asked, "Do you know this man?" Her face went white. She stammered, "I don't feel well anymore. Please just drop the case." The detective smiled coldly and said, "If you really don't know him, we'll put this portrait into the facial recognition system and find him ourselves. It might take time, but we will. Her face lost all color. I pretended to be worried and added softly, "Sister, don't be scared. These traffickers are so bold, grabbing girls in broad daylight. And that hit was so professional. They must do this all the time and definitely have accomplices. But now the police system is connected nationwide. Once they run the portrait, they'll catch him. If you know who he is and hide it, the police might think you're an accomplice." That was the last straw. She burst into tears and sobbed. "He's the village chief's son. His name is Wang Ji. Please protect me. I'm only telling because I'm afraid they'll take revenge." The officer smiled and promised her identity would stay secret. Of course, she knew perfectly well that once Wang Zhu was arrested, he would know exactly who betrayed him. But she had no choice anymore. 4 hours later, 12 police cars with armed officers stormed the mountain village and arrested him. The whole village pretended to be shocked that their precious boy could do something so evil. That night, after giving my statement, I finally went home. As soon as I stepped inside, my mom called, "Nan, wash your hands. Dinner is ready." Dad came out carrying a big pot of chicken stew, grinning proudly. "You said yesterday you wanted chicken, so Mom and I woke up early, went to the market, bought the freshest one, and slow cooked it for 6 hours." Mom stood beside him smiling. "Eat a lot today, okay?" Dad even skipped fishing for this. The moment those words left his mouth, my nose burned and tears fell without warning. Mom panicked. Nan, what's wrong? Who bullied you?" At that moment, all the pain from my previous life crashed over me. I threw my arms around my mom and cried like a child. Dad put down the chopsticks in a panic and came to comfort me too. I cried for over half an hour until I had no tears left. Then I told them everything that happened. That afternoon, how I almost got kidnapped by traffickers but managed to turn the tables. Mom turned pale and hugged me tight. Human traffickers are everywhere these days. Thank God you're smart enough to see through it. From now on, wherever you go, Mom or Dad will go with you. Promise me you'll be careful. I shook my head gently. I've already registered for the Police Academy entrance exam preparation class. 5 years of hell in my previous life taught me one thing: relying on others is stupid. Only when you're strong enough to protect yourself is that real living. While studying like crazy, I also hired a private detective to look into Wang Ji and that village. At first, I just wanted to know whether the villagers had beaten him to death for betraying them, and maybe find some clues about the other missing women. In my previous life, while I was locked in the cellar, I heard them bragging that at least 3 city girls had been sold through their network. What I never expected was the truth the detective uncovered. The poor student I had sponsored for 8 years, sending money and letters every month. The one whose picture I kept on my desk. That student was Wang Nya. My kidnapping in my previous life wasn't random. It was all planned by her from the beginning. The farmer and the snake, exactly. Not long after, photos arrived. Wang Na stripped naked, hanging from a tree in the middle of the village, tortured and humiliated by the men as punishment for being a traitor. I anonymously sent those photos to the police, handling the case with a tip that a girl was being held prisoner in an underground cellar in that village. The police raided the village that same night, saved Wang Ya, who was half dead, discovered 6 hidden tunnels, rescued 3 kidnapped women, and arrested dozens of people. The news spread like wildfire across the country. More than half the village got sentences ranging from 2 to 25 years. Many felt the punishments were too light. Those animals deserved worse. 2 months later, when public attention moved on, the families of the imprisoned villagers turned their hatred on Wang Ya. They blamed her for everything. Meanwhile, I threw myself into studying for the college entrance exam and living the university life I never got in my previous life. I studied until 1 or 2 in the morning almost every night. Mom would sigh, "Nan, Nan, you don't have to work this hard. Mom is already proud of you, no matter where you go. We don't need you to be a phoenix. We just want you healthy and happy." In my previous life, my dream was simple: go to college in the city, get a job near home, travel with Mom on weekends. But after being reborn, my dream changed. I wanted to become a police officer, to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. People who never got a second chance like I did. One day, Mom handed me a letter. The envelope clearly had Wang written in the corner. In the letter, she asked why I stopped sending tuition and living expenses, said she needed money for next semester's books and exams, asked me to send 500 yuan a month again. I coldly told Mom we were cutting her off completely. The last time I almost got kidnapped, that girl on the street was Wang Ya. It wasn't random. The whole village is rotten. Mom nodded. Whatever you decide, Mom supports you. I thought that would be the end. But a week later, Wang Ya showed up at my door, covered in bruises. Mom let her in out of pity. She looked around our house with greed and jealousy flashing in her eyes, then suddenly knelt down crying, "Sister, ever since you and the police exposed the traffickers, the villagers have been beating me. They stripped me and hung me from a tree. I barely escaped with my life. Please save me. If I go back, they'll kill me." I smiled coldly. "How exactly do you want me to save you?" She grabbed my leg. "Let me stay here. I'll be your little sister. I'll do anything you say. I'll study hard and get into a good university. I'll pay you back everything." If none of that had happened in my previous life, I probably would have softened and taken her in. But there are no ifs anymore. I used the gentlest voice to say the cruelest words. "No, because you're dirty and I don't want to catch anything." Her face froze in shock. She couldn't understand why the sister, who used to be so kind, suddenly became so cold. Mom looked sympathetic but stayed silent. My parents always respect my decisions. Wang Ya started crying again. "Sister, you've misunderstood. I can explain everything. That trafficking thing had nothing to do with me. I was just buying study materials that day. If I was really one of them, Why would I tell the police who the trafficker was? Look at my wounds. They almost beat me to death. Her acting was flawless. I smirked. You're really good at acting. What a waste if you don't become an actress. If it wasn't for your confession to the police that you set the whole trap, me and the 3 women who were locked in the cellar with me in my previous life might actually believe you. Panic flashed across her face. Then she forced a smile. Sister, they're lying to you. I'm just a kid. How could I do something like that? I grew up because of your kindness. Without you, I would be nothing. If I ever meant to hurt you, let me get hit by a car and die. Mom started to soften, but I cut in coldly. Fine. Then let's go right now to confront the 3 women who were just rescued. Let them tell you face to face whether you're innocent or not. Her face went white as paper. She knew she couldn't face them. The fake tears stopped instantly, and her expression turned to pure hatred. Fine. Yes, it was all me. They said if I didn't help, they'd kill me. Why were you born so lucky while I was born in hell? This world is unfair. I just wanted to make it a little fairer. What's wrong with wanting to survive? Mom's pity disappeared in a second. I looked down at her coldly. You could have called the police anytime. You could have run away any time. There are always good people willing to help. Wanting to survive isn't wrong, but selling innocent women to hell to save yourself is. You had 100 better choices, and you picked the worst one. Again and again. I'm done giving you money. You're no different from those animals. She finally dropped the mask completely and started rolling on the floor, screaming, After all the years you sponsored me, you think you can just cut me off like that? Fine, I won't leave. If you get to live well, don't expect peace either. I laughed. The families of the 3 rescued women are still looking for you. I can call them right now. I'm sure they'd love to sponsor you. She jumped up, eyes full of hate. Just wait, I won't let you go, then stormed out. Mom sighed. I can't believe someone so young can be so cruel. From now on, I'll pick you up from school every day. Be careful. I nodded to make Mom feel better, but I knew she was no real threat. A week later, she went live online, using every hot keyword. Poor mountain child abandoned by sponsor. Beaten by villagers, no money for school. Victim of trafficking ring. Within 10 minutes, 30,000 people were watching. She sat in a dirty, broken house, arms covered in bruises, crying about how some people are born in Rome, while others fight just to survive. How she was abandoned, how her own mother wanted to sell her for bride money, how her sponsor suddenly stopped supporting her because she was considered dirty after being abused. She knelt and begged viewers to help her go to school, promised to pay back 10 times, 100 times more after graduation. The internet exploded. Thousands sent money. Some even went to the village to investigate and claimed everything she said was true. The comment section was full of support, cursing the heartless sponsor who abandoned a poor girl after years of help. Under her careful guidance, netizens quickly found my personal information and started attacking me online. For a senior high school girl preparing for the college entrance exam, it was almost fatal. She wanted to destroy my life. Unfortunately for her, I was ready. I had been waiting. I contacted the 3 rescued women through the private detective. They hated Wang Ya to the bone and agreed immediately to record a video telling the exact truth of how she tricked them. I posted the unedited interviews, then my own video explaining everything, how she tried to traffic me using the exact same period pain trick, how everything finally made sense when I learned she was the student I had sponsored for 8 years. I warned everyone, if you meet a strange girl on the street with this kind of story, call the police immediately. Life is not a game. Don't gamble your kindness. Public opinion flipped completely. Angry netizens who had been cheated drove all night to her village, destroyed her house, demanded every cent back. The 3 rescued women sued her. Because she was still a minor and a former victim herself, she escaped prison, but her reputation was completely destroyed. She couldn't stay in the village, had no money, no school, carried diseases, and ended up a homeless wanderer fighting for scraps. My own scores shot to the top 10 in the city. The night before the college entrance exam, she appeared again, clothes torn, body covered in wounds, kneeling in front of me, begging, "Sister, I was wrong. I never should have listened to them. They had dirty photos and threatened to post them. I had no choice. I grew up with no one teaching me right from wrong. But now I really regret everything. Please give me one more chance." Her eyes were red, voice shaking with what looked like sincere remorse. Anyone would be moved. I laughed coldly. "You don't regret anything. You just can't survive anymore. Even if you kneel until the earth flips, I will never forgive you, and I will never help you again." Her face twisted in rage. She suddenly pulled out a dagger. "If I can't live, then you die with me." The second the knife came toward my chest, I punched her straight in the face. 6 months of secret training with a professional coach every day after school was not wasted. She was already weak from wandering and starvation. 3 punches, and she was on the ground, unable to fight back. I wanted to beat her to death, but I knew that would make me a criminal, and more importantly, I didn't want her to die so easily. After I knocked out all her front teeth, and she was barely breathing, I stopped, took photos, and posted them anonymously. There were still plenty of angry people looking for her. Whether she survived the night was up to fate. I scored 714 on the college entrance exam, 10th in the entire province. I chose the police academy without hesitation. 4 years later, I graduated at the top of my class and became a real people's police officer specializing in criminal psychology. My first big case was that village. After thorough investigation, we uncovered decades of trafficking. Many of the women living there now had been victims once, but had become perpetrators themselves. I showed no mercy. Everyone involved went to prison. The village became known as the criminal village. Those who eventually got out couldn't find jobs or wives and lived the rest of their lives alone, watched closely by the police. Any sign of new crime, and they went straight back inside. They will spend the rest of their lives atoning. Justice may be late, but it never fails to arrive. Thank you for listening to my story.